Ahoy hoy, me scurvy YouTube mateys. And I am certain that whatever you were expecting, it wasn't that, but that perhaps, in some sense, you were expecting this, as in Precious Cargo, the 11th mission of Thief 2 The Metal Age, but I bet you weren't expecting it quite the way you're seeing it here. That is to say, we're already under the lighthouse, and I can always come back and do this level properly later on, but today, now, hang on to your ship wheel, we're going to do something completely different this time. What the? Boy, you can't even see it anymore. It's that far away. Well, this time we are going to be using quick saves and quick loads in great quantities. Great quantities. And you'll notice that the base of the lighthouse is a circular shape, but the shaft is square. That adds a complication. And it's not clear that we're even going, that any of this is going to be worth it until the very end. Getting up there is actually the least of our problems. Now, for those who are new to the channel, or just haven't seen this before, what the hell am I doing? This is called flare elevatoring, and if my brain damaged memory serves, this is the 5th video I'm making featuring this. You know, the story of what flare elevatoring really is and how it works and how it was discovered. Clearly, it's an exploit, okay? I think I would not insult anybody's intelligence. I think it's clear to everybody that we've got an exploit here. This is, for all you youngish taffers out there, this is ancient technology. This is the Arbiter's armor. This is something that was known from the biblical days of Thief Old. This discovered long ago. Generally speaking, the technique only works in Thief 2. And there's reasons for that. Reasons I'm not gonna go into, but clearly it allows us to reliably it allows us to negotiate elevation changes where there's no ladder. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, the whole idea of reliably, because there's nothing reliable about flare elevatoring. Flare elevatoring is nothing if not unreliable. You will do this successfully X number of times and then it will fail you, and that is why you see me quick saving and quick loading constantly. Now, some of you are probably already asking, why am I doing this? Well, what does possible mean to you? What does the word possible mean to you? What does the word impossible mean to you? I'm sure you either have a paraphrase of a dictionary definition or you just defer to the definition in your preferred dictionary verbatim, as you like it. And those definitions are, I would say, very useful. And I wouldn't dispute either the clarity or the usefulness of the terms and concepts. But how might those words apply to thief? What makes thief a deep game? What makes thief a game with near infinite replay value? Asking me why I do something like this in Thief is like asking a rock climber why they climb a rock. And I don't think that the answer, because it's there, or because nobody's ever done it, really is... I think most rock climbers have better answers than that. And that's not quite why I'm doing this. However, I have this concept with Thief that there's always one somewhere in the first two games. It really only applies to the first two games, although in principle there's no reason why this shouldn't also apply to Thief Deadly Shadows. It's just how the nostalgia crystallized in my brain. There's this idea that in the first two Thief games, there's always one nook or cranny of some area of these levels that I'll never get to. There will always be one more thing to discover. And that concept, that nebulous subjective sense of Thief's world just being bigger or more intricate than we can ever truly discover, that right there is... Nope. Okay, let's try this again. That pushes you to do stuff like this. It's one thing to explore a level, it's another thing to relate to these levels in 3 dimensions in novel ways. But, it's not all profound sounding, sort of profound sounding gobbledygook. I am quite possibly the first Taffer dumb enough to have bothered trying to flare elevator out of this particular shaft. Thief will make you crazy. Thief will make you crazy with love for Thief. And that makes people do odd things. This is basically the 5th flare elevatoring video I've made. And 2 of the others so far were here in Precious Cargo, because this is actually an extremely vertical level. I got into flare elevatoring. So again, basically, I'm trying to figure out where to start with the explanation of this. Let's just back up a bit. Let me talk a little bit more about flare elevatoring generally. So there is this just quirk of how things work in the game that if you turn the mouse sensitivity all the way down to the minimum, and then you look straight up and you drop a flare, it'll go straight up and then it'll come down on your head as you see right now. And then if you press space, you can jump and mount it like a surface. And then when you look down again, you look straight down so that you're not going to take away the flare you're sitting on, but you collect the one you just used. So in this way, you kind of have the step below you and the step above you at all times. And this is how, one thing at a time, you gradually can traverse potentially infinite vertical distances in Thief. Now, I didn't, despite many years, it wasn't until sometime after 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, that my dear buddy Eckmeyer introduced me to this technique, because he and I have collaborated on a number of videos and a number of other Thief stunt videos before. And I had mentioned to him that I was frustrated that there seemed to be no practicable way to reach the top of Angel Watch in the last level Life of the Party. I had attempted building primitive blocky box ramps to see what could I build, how high could I get it, and my buddy was able to show me photos of people who had stacked boxes in a manner that had allowed them to reach the top. So someone had been up there somehow, some way. I could take one look at those photos and understand that I'm never going to be a box stacker like that. It's just not going to happen. A Taffer's got to know his got to know his limits. I was never going to see me make box structures like that. So, as an alternative, my buddy suggested flare elevatoring as a possibility. So, I'd never heard of it. He had to explain to me what it was. He had to go into, who had discovered it and some of the ins and outs and particulars, and then I had to take that information. I had to ask him some questions, and I had to take that information and I had to experiment. And I didn't doubt for a moment that what he was telling me, I understood that what he was telling me was true, but I didn't think have already, by the time I got into this, there were already a couple rather impressive things I've pulled off in Thief, stunt-wise. I will be so bold as to say, but I didn't think this flare elevatoring, I did not think for a moment that I was actually going to be able to do it. But I was pleasantly surprised to discover that it actually came very easily. And it wasn't long at all after that not only did I reach the top of Angel Watch with this technique, I reached the tip of the spire on top of Angel Watch and then collided with the top of the skybox at the absolute zenith of the level. And there was another area I had wanted to get to just for the sake of it for a long time, but had not been able to, was the roof of Soulforge Cathedral, the beginning of the last mission of Thief 2 the Metal Age, and flare elevatoring got me up there as well. And after that, I wanted to step it up. So the next thing we did was come back here to Precious Cargo, and there is that other elevator shaft in the caves at the beginning of this level. And so in that video, what I did was I challenged myself to make it all the way to the top of that shaft and to jump safely onto the ledge there without saving once. Now, on the one hand, this is just anal and OCD and kind of dumb, and I get that, but it's a computer game. It's supposed to be a complete waste of time. And I pulled it off. It took 3 attempts, believe it or not. I was just zoned in on what flare elevatoring was. The first attempt was a failure. The second attempt, I made it up there, but I didn't mount the ledge successfully and fell all the way down. So that sucked. But then I did pull it off. It was just a question of being really zonked into this flare elevatoring and more attuned to it than I am now or ever will be again. And also here, because this is this is actually a very vertical level, used flare elevatoring to get up to the lighthouse and hang out on the roof, and then I figured out a way to get down from there without dying, which I wasn't expecting. That was just an added bonus. And then there was one other thing. What else did I do? Drawing a blank on what that was. It would be a boring video, even more boring video if I wasn't making noise. Somewhat more recently, I also at one point another high area that was sort of always an out of reach star was the apps in Sabotage at Soulforge. I was able to mosey on up to the top of there. So, as for the video I made where I went up the cave in this level, the point there was to take something that is fundamentally unsafe and fundamentally unreliable and sort of make it be reliable, or I guess that level would have been like free climbing El Capitan. No safety ropes, no hooks, no nothing. I'm not, I am content to do this in one take, and if we have to reload a couple times, so be it. Just like that. Now, why did that happen? Theoretically, apparently, you have to be looking straight up, and you also have to be. You cannot be moving when the flare elevator bops you on the head and comes to a rest. If it's crooked, it's not going to work. And it's hard to say really what really causes one instance to go wrong while another goes right. You kind of never know 100% whether or not it's going to work. Sometimes it was a situation where I knew it wasn't going to work and so it didn't. Sometimes nothing seemed wrong and then it didn't work. Let's see. But, if you get good at hiding in Thief, if you get good at ghosting, if you get good at memorizing your loot, if you get good at fighting, if you get good with the bow, if you get good at anything that's actually worthwhile or helpful in terms of playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, you get better at all that as you play. And after you've been playing for decades, when you've played for Thief for a few decades, you start to get a bit inane. And you start to get a sense of whimsy and loving the game, but not taking it too damn seriously. And, is flare elevatoring worth anything? Not necessarily. But I think the ability to pull things off that, you know, Garrett is a thief. He's a rule breaker. Okay. He's not, the whole notion of playing the game the way you're supposed to when you're playing a criminal. Come on. It says something about you if exploits piss you off in a game where you play a thief who also does not hesitate to commit murder under certain circumstances. I mean, come on. You know, I think the ability to be able to control Garrett and to focus on something difficult and dangerous for a relatively long period of time, cultivating that ability, cultivating that patience, cultivating that sensibility, cultivating that tenacity. I think that generally, in some vague sense, might be worth doing. That, in fact, in my case at least, a ridiculous exercise like this might actually have something to do both with me continuing to improve as a player after 22 years and also keeping me interested. You know, on the one hand, you'd have to be pretty damn bored to be doing what I'm doing right now, except that I'm not bored. I'm enjoying this. Now, there was sort of an added challenge here, and it's probably already apparent to those of you who are watching, if any of you are still watching, if anybody did watch this far, if I'm not just up here talking to myself, which that's okay too. But I don't know, and it's not necessarily easy to know if I'm really going to be able to get to that door, to that opening, and save myself, or if I'm too far away from it. It was I could see coming down that was going to be a problem because we've got a octagonal-ish polygon shape for the lighthouse base, and then we have this square shaft, and I may be too far away. See, the thing is, you can jump from the position you're on this flare, but it's not much surface area. But since I am permitting myself saves, it's going to be a situation where we're going to get where we can get, and then in terms of our height, we're not going to be able to do any better. But we are on a surface right now, so theoretically we can get off that surface, but it's gnarly. I do not have a runway worth of area to work with here. We're gonna find out very soon here. I'm gonna have to make a couple decisions about what to try. See, when I was here and I was down in the caves, it was just a matter of not getting, it's like I could look straight up, it's like start from a square and you go straight up and the exit is a square. So it was just a matter of making sure I was centered towards one side, is the way I'll put it into words, and then it was no problem. This is a very different situation, and it's just interesting that it's not really apparent even now whether or not I'm going to be able to do this. I might. I don't know. It's kind of looking kind of bad, actually. If I look at it too much, we're not ready yet, but okay. Let's see. You never know. Sometimes persistence is the key, sometimes it's just a no. Alright, we are getting close to a decision point, though. Let's see here. Of course, you don't actually get much. You know, the inefficiency comes in that you don't have much. You don't get much lift per flare. That's why this is so inefficient. Oops. See. Let's see here. Okay. And I'm not, every attempt that fails, we're just going to have to come up a little bit. Rather I leave myself more room to work, try different things at than not. I'm thinking this is just not quite going to be enough, but let's try it. Nope. Okay. It's close, but this may all have been for naught. Now that was a... Well, let me just see here. Okay. We probably can do this. Probably. You're going to have to go all the way to the top. It almost worked that time. Let's see. No, that was too high. There's a sweet spot. Now, even if... What I'm doing is I'm using a hop jump. So that's just a jump from... That's a jump with no W key. Nope. Close. I got to get that screenshot key reassigned. That's annoying. Every time I quick load, it takes a screeny. You know what? Let's just try this. Okay, there we go. Look down. Oh, look down. Aren't you afraid? Yeah, can't even see. That's a first. All the other vertical things I've done, you know, you could always see what was above you. There was no mist. Of course, this shaft is not nearly as tall as Angel Watch is. At least not as tall as Angel Watch with the spire, I think. Eckheimer will correct me if I'm wrong there. But this is how you flare elevator and babble while you're doing so. This was something Thiefy related that I cared to do, so now I have done it. And if you're actually still watching at this point, I will say thank you for being here with me, and I will see everybody back next time when we do this level properly, the way you're supposed to. Later.